Hello, it's your friend Doublebite, and I'm excited for this one. This is going to be my spoilerific review of Last Jedi. Again, spoilers. If you haven't seen this movie, don't watch this video. It's about 1:30 now. So, if you haven't watched my other video, briefly, my rating system is very harsh. 5 is middle of the road, 6 means it's good, 7 means it's great, 8 means it's probably one of my favorite things ever. 9 is like Mad Max Fury Road the second I stepped out of the theater. I'm so scared to rewatch that movie. So, and I gave this a 6 out of 10. So the way this review is going to be completely rambling and disorganized because it's 1:30 in the morning and I'm me. I'm also going to be talking about things that I'm not qualified to talk about. I'm not a huge Star Wars junkie. I haven't seen the original trilogy in a long time. I haven't seen the prequel trilogy in a long time. I've only seen The Force Awakens once. I haven't seen Rogue One. So I'm probably going to miscite a lot of things and misremember a lot of things. I also have no form of film training, and I'm going to be talking about things like structure and pacing. Don't give a fuck. I'm going to roll with this. Cool. I mentioned the other one. Check out Lindsay Ellis or Film Crit Hulk in general for just like good film critiques. They're like two of my inspirations. I really want to see what Film Crit Hulk thinks of this. Actually, I haven't been keeping track of his stuff. But anyway, so kind of going to bounce around a lot. So good thing about the movie, cool female characters, a lot of ones introduced, a lot of cool ones, all cool in different ways. Overall, I like the movie. There's good character building. Oh, this is going to be so rambling. Okay, first of all, I'm going to start with the thing that made me most angry about this movie. Fuck you, movie, for wasting Phasma. First movie, Phasma seems badass. You waste her. Second movie, oh cool. After a lot of build-up, here comes Phasma. You fucking killed Phasma! Why did you kill Phasma? Okay. Oh yeah, maybe she lived. Come on now. That was a very, very death fall. How the fuck did you waste Phasma? How? I read somewhere that she's like one of the most popular selling toys. How did you not keep Phasma for the third movie? How? How did Hux live and Phasma die? What the fuck? What, you felt like Finn's arc with her, if you can call that an arc, was done? Oh, fuck you! Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you for that. That's unforgivable. I kind of want to knock you down to a 4 just because of how mad I am of how you wasted Phasma. Yeah, she was cool. No. You should have kept her for the third movie. You should give her something to do. Oh my god. You just wasted her. Come on. What's her story? Why does she have the armor? Female stormtrooper. There's so much to work with here. And instead you're like, oh, she doesn't like Finn. Oh, Finn doesn't like her. Let's have their showdown be now. What the fuck is... Anyway. Got that out of my system. I needed to get that out of the way real fast because this is going to build up in there. So action-wise, this movie has a bunch of good action scenes. Like the opening attack on the rebels and the ship is really cool. Like the bombing run is really interesting. I like the tension between Poe being reckless and Leia being like, no, don't be reckless. And then like it's very much a kind of a Pyrrhic victory because he wins and they get the dreadnought, but like it doesn't actually matter because they lost so many people. And the tension between like the one bomber who's just trying to grab the remote, like, well done. I genuinely did not expect them to draw out the will it work or will it not work so long, and I genuinely thought for a while they were going to go for the down or they were going to have the bombing run fail. So it felt really good when the bombing run succeeded. So like that was a moment where you don't know. That's one of the few times where you don't know if they're going to succeed or fail. And it's satisfying all the way through. Honestly, so let's talk about the character arcs a little bit. Poe gets a great arc. Poe gets a solid arc because I felt like he was cool in Force Awakens, but I recall him almost being off screen for a lot of it. Like I think there's actually almost a reference to it in this where Poe introduces himself to Rey, and I'm like, oh, did they meet in the first one? Again, I haven't seen the first one in like a year, so I don't know. But yeah, but Poe has a really strong arc going from like the hotshot Han Solo to the thoughtful leader, and being mentored by Leia, which I thought was really cool. and like really well done. And then Finn kind of has an arc because he was kind of gonna run away, but he was running away to save Rey because it was a lost cause, which makes total sense. And Rey's their best shot because he's fucking off with Luke Skywalker. So if he can help Rey find them, then maybe Luke Skywalker can save them all because that's their whole fucking plan. So, and he goes from that to like also still a hero. So, but he gets to kill fucking Phasma, and that's his arc, I guess. I don't know. Rey has a real interesting arc. Rey's arc will depend a lot on the third movie, because the third movie needs to do what this movie was setting up and didn't do. Because this movie was setting up Rey to have the Dagobah thing, to have the training thing, and she has a valuable training, and it's really good, but she doesn't have discipline and control. She doesn't have the thing that will help her overcome Kylo. She doesn't have that wisdom. And I like that this movie is hopefully setting up that the wisdom is not going to be the same way that Luke gained his wisdom. It's not going to be this meditate on a rock with some wise dude thing. At the same time, this was the movie for Rey to have... It's going to feel weird to fit that in the next movie. Because the movie has to... I'm not sure what they're fitting in the next movie, honestly. It's this movie ends in a weird spot, and I'll get to that. But Rey's arc is both good and a little off structurally. And this movie's arc is good but a little off structurally. So go back to Rey. So yeah, we got Poe, we got Finn, we got Rey. And then Kylo's arc is... I love what they're doing with Kylo. It's just so satisfying that he does the right thing and kills fucking Andy Serkis and then is like, great, I can do a better job. Perfect. That is the perfect thing for this character. Because he's not going to go good. It's not that he's a bad person. He's just that he's a bad person. You know? He is who he is. He's not going to be like, oh, error of my ways. It's like, no. He is crafting himself and he's trying to plunge forward because the past scares him so much, and that's so effective. And he's so blinded by rage and stuff, so he's still embodying the dark side, but he's not the megalomaniacal evil, and he works really well. I thought he worked really well in the first one. He was kind of comedic in some ways and being over the top angry, but I thought it really worked in this. I'm glad they had him lose the helmet, and Adam Driver's just nailing it. Just when he's extending his hand to Rey, like, please join me, and it's like, you feel for him, and you almost think that together they could do a good job, but you know they can't. And if Rey had taken his hand, I would have been okay with that. If Rey hadn't taken his hand, I would have been okay with that. Like, it was one of those decisions where I'm excited to see the outcome. So his arc, very good. I'm excited to see where that goes, ongoing. And I like the fact that he doesn't turn back. You know, it's not like he turns around against Andy Serkis, whatever the fuck his stupid name is, Snoke. It's that he shifts forward towards a different path that involves killing Snoke. You know, it's not a backstab so much as a change in trajectory forwards. That's really awesome. So yeah, so jumping to the ending a little bit. Yeah, this thing did the thing where it's like you have an emotional climax with Kylo and Rey and the escape of the fleet, and the Empire Strikes Back thing to do would have been the fleet escapes to the salt planet, but then they reveal that the villains know that they're going there, so you know that the villains are closing in, but they don't know, and they're waiting for hope. So there's like that dismal feeling, but you still have that little bit of hope. Because at the end of Empire Strikes Back, you know, Han's and Kryptonite, Luke's hands got cut off, there's betrayal, you know. This ends really neatly. Like, what are they going to do in the next movie? They're like, the next movie has to be set up, right? Because the rebels have nothing. You've basically brought them from Republic to Resistance to Rebels. And now they have nothing, so it's like, feels like a new start, but you only have one more movie. Your movie has to be the end of a trilogy, and Kylo and the First Order are going to have the end of a trilogy. They had the upcoming, they had the Rise, and then they're going to have the Fall. They have an arc. This is the end of the Resistance's arc. They had the Meh, then they had the Fall, but it's not like a fall. It's like a splitter out kind of fall. It's like, okay, now we need to start over kind of feeling. There's hope to it. There's a spark to it, but there's no momentum to it. It's the downer ending of a trilogy. You know, it's not the downer ending of the midquel. It's weird. It's totally weird to me. It's cool. I haven't really seen it before, but it's like, so what do you have to do in the next movie? I guess they'll gather a ragtag bunch of people together to go save the world. Because the first ragtag bunch of people now needs a new ragtag bunch of people to save the world. Like, you get what I'm saying? In Star Wars, it's like ragtag bunch of people figuring out what they need to do to save the world, and like this ragtag group of people gets a bunch of generics or like unifies people and stuff. With this, it's literally, I guess, time to go assemble the new army because the entire old army's gone. So it's like, okay, so what are they going to do that they didn't do the first time? It just feels both too hopeful and too absolutist, because the scale of the hopelessness is large, and the scale of the hopefulness is small. It's a weird feeling, because in Empire Strikes Back, you feel like the Empire almost won, right? In this, you feel like the Empire won, and yet it's still a more optimistic ending than Empire. So it's more optimistic, but the Empire won more fully. It's weird. Although, I mean, and like, okay, jumping to like one of those, in my previous video, I talked about things that you know that they had to do, that they did do, and they did well, in a way that you kind of weren't expecting. There's one category of twist. Second category of twist is things that you know they had to do. Therefore, you know that they were going to do them, and then they didn't do them, and you were satisfied. So one of those is Leia not dying. Like, you knew Leia had to die. So, and the trailer's like, Leia's going to die. And you knew that Leia was not going to die, because it's obvious that Leia's going to die. And again, they didn't kill Leia. And they like fake out killed her. I'm like, wow, they killed her really early on. I'm kind of surprised by that. And then they did the weird, she reaches out to the Force and it pulls her back into the ship. And I get that was supposed to be really moving and powerful. It got just the floating into the ship sequence. It didn't hit for me. It felt a little cheesy. I'm sorry. It just felt a little much for me. Like, if she had been able to like maybe hold on until they got her, that would have felt better. But just being able to pull, it felt like she was pulling herself into the ship, and it just felt too much for me. I'm sorry. I have no soul. But that being said, like, yeah, like, the fake outs of whether Leia was going to live or die were well done, but you knew she had to die, so you knew she couldn't die. And they're like, yeah, maybe, what we do it this time, So, on the other side, you knew that Luke had to die. Like, you may think, oh, well, it's The Last Jedi, therefore it's too obvious that he's going to die, therefore he's not going to die. But it's the only way his arc makes sense. It's because he has to Ben Kenobi. He has to Yoda. He has to pass on the mantle. He has to. If they didn't do that, the movie would be worse, right? I'm going to say that flat out. If Luke was alive in the third movie, it would just be a worse movie because of it. Like, I think Yoda does die in the third one. I don't think he dies in Empire. I think he dies when Luke goes back to him. But that's the nature of Luke fleeing to go to duty, right? It's that kind of interrupted training thing. But I don't think that would have worked for this movie, because Luke is too active. Yoda is this outside force. Luke is too entangled with the plot. So that would have worked. So Luke had to die. And the way that they killed Luke was cool. Having him be a badass and seemingly survive all the shots, like, how did he do that? But also, he's the best. And then having it turn out to be he was like astral projecting himself ties into the astral projection stuff with Kylo and Ren. It was like, Kylo and Rey. It's like, really well done. Really moving. I expected myself to cry, but I didn't, because it felt inevitable. but at the same time, like, it was well done. It was narratively really satisfying, and that's what I really appreciate. Also, all the stuff with Kylo and Rey was so good, because you can believe that Snoke was influencing it, but you could also believe that he's just bullshitting both of them, and that he's trying to play like the MasterCard, but that they're actually like really strongly connected. I love that her parents aren't some big mysterious thing, and like that Kylo knows that. Oh, Kylo was so good. Kylo was so good. Oh, every time Kylo just like smacked and beat the shit out of Hux, it was. Anyway, but yeah. Also, thank you for your like Snoke sort of worked in the first movie because he's this big mysterious thing, but thank you for not making him a huge thing in the next movie, because like it was stupid. Okay, so again, my memory's fuzzy. I don't really remember where the First Order came from. I'm gonna assume it's like our modern day right-wing Nazis, in that they've just kind of always been around, and then they're like, hey, cool, we can get powerful now, and then they do, and everyone's like, where did these fuckers come from? I'm basically assuming it's like that, where people were like, hey, the Empire, well, that was pretty good. We all had matching suits back then. And then the First Order just got really powerful, and then they carted in some evil Jedi from somewhere. So I don't really know what his deal was. I don't think they explained what his deal was that much in the previous movie. Maybe they should have explained what his deal was. Whatever. That worked for me. This movie's whole basic theme was out with the past, in with the future. Like, look forward, don't look backward. And in some ways that works, in some ways that doesn't. Like, it's obviously Force Awakens is kind of criticized for being a remake of The New Hope. And it was very intentional. And I think it was intentional with this theme in mind of this movie. And it works in a lot of ways, it doesn't in others. Like, I love that Kylo's trying to look for the future, but he's doing so by trying to lead the powerhouse of the past, you know? Whereas Rey is working with these past elements to try to bring about a new future that's not envisioned by some pre-existing message. That's my take on it. And I thought that was really well done. Where was I going with this? But yeah, so Snoke was like that sign of the Jedi are gone. This is a new world order. I thought that was really cool. And he was obnoxious and stupid and weird looking. What the fuck was his deal? Where did he come from? Maybe I should just Wikipedia this or some bullshit. But yeah, so that was really well done. Fuck him. Satisfyingly done. A+. Let's see, where was I going with this? So, I think we had the weird Hoth parallel. I think this was... Okay, another thing I'm pissed about. Actually, no. We'll go to the thing I'm pissed about. I did not want Finn to sacrifice himself to kill the Death Star battering ram. I would be sad. I like Finn. I didn't think he had that much of an arc, but it would have been a fitting end to his arc. You know, he had the personal victory against Phasma. He's gone from being kind of personally focused to being bigger picture focused. And then Rose knocks him out of the death thing with like some like bullshit of we don't like attack the people we hate, we save the people we love. He's saving a whole bunch of people he loves. The plan was wait until help arrives. That's your only plan. That plan doesn't work without a fucking door. We know that the audience knows that Luke is going to save the day. The writers know that Luke is going to save the day. Those fuckers don't know that she just killed all the people she loves to save one person she loves from heroic sacrifice. Really? Really? Can you imagine? So, one of my favorite scenes is when Laura Dern... I'm so sorry for hearing her character's name. I know they said it a couple times. Laura Dern. So when Laura Dern turns the ship around and, like, blasts it into the ship. Fucking awesome. That was great. Beautiful heroic sacrifice. I love... I'll get more into her in a second. But that was awesome. Imagine if Leia teleported her... Star Trek teleported her out of the ship and, like, no... You can't sacrifice yourself to stop that. We can only save ourselves by saving the people we love. Y'all better hope Luke is going to show up right then and there, because otherwise you're all dead. Like, that would have been insane, right? That would have been bullshit. So, her saving him, that was bullshit. Did I want Finn to die? No, I wanted a different Deus Ex Machina. than Finn dying. That was fucking stupid. Flat out. Going back to Laura Dern's character, ooh, that was a fun one. Because at first you're like, oh, who's this lady? She's going to be the heir to Leia, and then she's like, ooh, yeah, she is the heir to Leia, and Poe respects her. But now Poe doesn't respect her, and we like Poe. We're on Poe's side. But then it's like, and then Poe's going to be the brash leader, but then Leia kicks his ass, and it's like, no, Poe, we're smart. We have this. We may seem like cowards, but we are trying to think of a good plan. Admittedly, they should have told Poe, hey, cool, no, we're actually going to this planet. We're not just going out into space. Maybe they could have told Poe that. Seems kind of useful for him to know, like, not just we're sending these undefended ships out to space, but like, hey, we're going to send them to this well-defended planet. Maybe he would have been a little less cranky then. That being said, I liked her transition from, like, who is she? Oh, she's cool. Oh, she's not cool. Oh, she's cool. I liked that. I think she played it really well. She was resourceful. She was steely. Like, again, Rose, I think was a little... Rose had ups and downs, but I think she was overall a great character. Leia's obviously a great character. Laura Dern's a great character. Phasma should be a great character, and I... God, fucking... Anyway, but yeah, so she was excellent. That her sacrifice was just so beautifully done. So good. But and yeah, again, that would have been a great place to end the movie. She sacrificed, the heroes barely get away and they're recuperating, but you know that the enemy's like really hot on their tail. Rey is still out with... Rey is nowhere to be seen. You don't know if she's going back to Luke or not. Luke's still a wild card. Having this tension in the air. There's no tension at the end of this movie. None. It's tension free. It's weird. It's just weird, especially given that they're obviously trying to parallel Empire a little bit at least. I don't know. It's anyway. But let's see. Where was I going with that? But yeah, no. Her character was great. That was really cool. I like that a lot. I got a bunch of things I wanted to say. Oh yeah, so the whole middle section with the fucking gambling planet. No. That was way too long. Okay, you got the cool thing with the stampede dudes and like social commentary and some funny bits. Okay. Yeah, sure, you have some comic relief, but you have the Porgs, you have BB-8 being adorable. It just dragged so long and was not very interesting. And kind of felt weirdly calling back to the prequels and like the whole pod race thing. And it's like, why would you call back to those? Why are you doing that? Although I'm going to say some nice things about the prequels in a little bit, so be warned. But yeah, like, just went on for way too long. Admittedly, I did love Benicio del Toro's like thief character. I love that he was sketchy. I love that he was both irredeemable and not. He was never not who he was. He never had a heel face turn or a face heel turn, you know? He's not the worst person ever. Like, he returned the pendant, but he's not the best person ever. And I'm so glad that the Empire didn't kill him. I kind of was worried that they were going to be like, oh, thank you for turning traitor, and then shoot him. But no, they get that he is who he is. He's going to deal with whoever. They can use him in the future. And so on and so forth, you know? It just felt he felt like a very consistent character, a very real character, and a compelling character. You know, like, he's a scuzzball, and you never think he's not a scuzzball. When he does something nice, it's not a turn. When he does something evil, it's not a turn. It's just... he's working, he's living the life that he's living. And he's doing his thing. Sorry, my foot's falling asleep a little bit. So I liked him. But yeah, that section, oh come on, you could just cut that in half. And the stampede, and that's great and all, but it's just... It's from the prequels. And you can fit that into a modern Star Wars movie. But you can't in this one. Yeah. God, yeah. Oh, the whole not Hoth sequence was so weird, because it couldn't have been in the beginning of the next movie structurally, but it shouldn't have been at the end of this movie structurally. and like climax and like resolution wise. Oh, it's just awkward. And yet that's one of my favorite sequences. The Finn bullshit aside. And I think one thing that this movie lacks is spectacle. And not spectacle as an action spectacle. Spectacle as in grandeur. That's one of the things that Star Wars does so well and better than most other things. Is it has really rich worlds. And I actually was not the kind of thing that I thought, oh yeah, this is what Star Wars needs. But this movie made me realize, yeah, Star Wars needs that. Like, the settings have to have not just personality, but je ne sais quoi. Like, they tried to do that with the gambling planet, but that whole thing was overdone, so fuck that. And like the thing that this movie, when this movie had it, they had it with Snoke's command room, where it was just like huge space and empty, and the guards and the aesthetics. It felt like a place. And even the other shots of the inside the Star Destroyers had that feeling of a place. They felt familiar, but darker than the earlier ones. And the Hoth planet had that feeling, because it felt like Hoth. But the second you saw that it was like red salt underneath and like the salt caves, it felt like a place. It had that spectacle. It had that Star Wars feeling. And I think that J.J. Abrams is really good at that. And he captured that well, as far as I remember, in The Force Awakens. Especially with a lot of the establishing shots and whatnot. Again, it was trying a little too hard, but like, it had that. And I think this movie, I'm not sure where this movie could have put it in, but even like Luke's planet, it wasn't. Compare Luke's planet to Dagobah, okay? Luke's planet is like, so we have this island, these Borgs, which are amazing, and these other weird creatures that show up once, but I like them, and these caretakers who I didn't like because they just showed up out of nowhere and disappeared into nowhere, and it's like, okay, come on, I can see like the titty long necks are on the other side of the island, but where are these assholes coming from? Anyway, compare that to Dagobah. Yeah, there's mountains, and you climb up them, and you climb down them, and you climb up them, and there's waves, and it's cool, and it's interesting. But it's too terrestrial. It feels like the kind of place you'd find a crazy monk on Earth. And there's not that much. It doesn't have that scale. The cave that Rey goes into with the mirror thing, that has that Star Wars thing to it. It has that unearthliness to it. Like, here's like sun, waves. It doesn't have this you're transported out feeling. You know? Like, Dagobah wasn't just a swamp, it was the most swamp. And there's a sense of mystery of you don't know what's there, you don't know what's out there, it's unsettling. So when Luke goes into the cave, it's like a lot of oh shit. And this cave, and this island, this mountain place had that. It had like the weird hole thing, and it had the tree. And those were great. But the island itself was a rock. It didn't have this sense of Star Wars placeness and this sense of spectacle and grandeur and I guess labor of love. That's what it is. This place didn't feel like a labor of love. And Star Wars locations tend to have a sense of passion behind them. I think that's what helps is it's that level of detail. Like, this was the location that Luke was going to be. It's going to have this, and this element. It's going to have huts. It's going to have these little dudes. That's it. Like, you place this giant rock in Tatooine, and now it's a Tatooine rock. You place this on Bespin, and it's like a floating in Bespin. It's on Bespin. And actually, those are kind of more interesting, instead of just being in the water like a normal island. And that's one thing that the prequels tried to do well, and overdid, because George Lucas was, playing with himself, and they're trying to capture something from the original movies that George Lucas didn't quite know what he had. But, like, the contrast between, like, land Naboo and water Naboo is visually interesting. Tatooine had a personality. The second shitty ass movie that had the weird cliff things with the dinosaurs that was actually a really cool level in Battlefront. You know? Think about the establishing shots of Bespin. This movie, a lot of it was in space, and a lot of it was tension, a lot of it was character based. Sure, I get all that. But that detracted from the Star Wars-ness of it for me. A little bit of the experience. It kept it sterile. This movie definitely felt sterile. And I think that's something I was touching on a little bit with complaining about how like some of the twists are like, yeah, they're twists, but you knew they were going to be twists. It's like, check off the boxes and also check off the boxes that you knew we were going to check, but not check, yada, yada, yada. This movie did have a little sterility to it. And when it broke that sterility, it was amazing. Kylo was constantly out of the sterile zone. Laura Dern's sacrifice was out of the sterile zone. And like it played with things a lot. Like the ending was so sterile zone. I really should have been more moved by Luke's passing scene than I was. I'm a little disappointed in myself. I guess because I was so ready for it that it lost a little impact, but it was very well done. Like one of the better ways they could have possibly done that scene. God, okay. I had a lot to talk about. I mean, I wish I had time to write this down, but if I had time to write this down, then I wouldn't do it. You know, it's kind of the nature of things. But yeah, like from the opening crawl, it's like, yeah, the Empire's winning and the rebels are rebels. Okay? So is this a New Hope? You know, it's... This movie knows it's caught up in its legacy, both in the original trilogy and the shitty prequels. So it can't be the prequels, and it just needs to honor the original trilogy, so it does that. And thematically, it's about dealing with the past with, you know, Kylo and Luke and Leia and all that, and the OG. Also, thank you for not killing Chewie and the Falcon. I actually thought they were going to do that. I actually thought Chewie and the Falcon were going to, like, sacrifice into the battering ram thing, and I'm like, it'd be a good call. It would be a good play, but I also kind of hope they don't do that. I kind of just want Chewie and the Falcon to go off for future adventures. Maybe when Rey's done saving the Earth or Finn's done saving the Earth, they can just go chill with them, whatever. Go be rogues. You know, Poe gets fed up with. I don't know. I digress. I hope they make it. I'm glad they didn't heroic sacrifice this movie. Really, I mean, the heroic sacrifices in this movie were like Laura Dern and then, obligatory Luke sacrifice. So we got lucky there in a way. God, Rey's and Luke's interactions were so good. Well, he better come back in ghost form because he has a third lesson. I counted it. He didn't get to all 3 lessons. He's got to teach her something still. And as I said, she has to learn something still in the next movie because she needs that extra something to defeat Kylo. And it's like that discipline and that, you know, Jedi able to resist the dark side mojo. There's actually a couple things that I thought they were going to say that they didn't say, but that's my own take on things. That's too far removed, so we won't worry about that. But her scenes with Luke were really good. They were really good balancing of him still being stuck in his ways and him trying not to make the same mistakes while also making the same mistakes, and her realizing that and being like, no, here's what I need to do, I got this. And even if she wasn't quite always on base, this movie thematically did do a really good job of its 2 young Jedi dealing with their past and channeling it towards their futures, even if Kylo's is a little genocidal. But yeah, but the movie itself is still a little too caught up in its past. It's still a little too afraid of being prequel-y. It's still a little too afraid of straying too far from the originals in a weird sort of way. I don't know. I think that's what I'm getting. That's that sterile feeling from it. It's really good, but there's just something about it that's like too polished in a weird way. I guess it just doesn't feel ambitious, you know? It's telling the same story, and it's intentionally telling the same story. It's intentionally telling Empire versus Rebels, and it's playing with it's being like, because we need to set that up so that we can subverted by like, having people now empower, Kylo and Rey. What do they do now that they're in these positions? And like, oh, we need a new way of doing things instead of just the same fight. But while that's interesting, you're still telling the same fight. There hasn't been a good twist on the formula. I guess the twist on the formula this one is kind of like they don't kill the Death Star because I guess that's the battering ram. But it's the point is that it's the same formula, but at the same time it's the same formula. And again, maybe I just wasn't paying attention to the First Awakens. I still don't fucking know where Snoke came from, where the First Order came from. They're just like the Empire again. There's the Empire, there's the Rebels. There's the Empire, then the Rebels. And now the Rebels are calling themselves the Rebels. What kind of like the hood into Arrow bullshit is that? That there's like, oh, now we're the Rebels. How many people did you have to lose before you're calling yourself the Rebels? You mean, calling yourself the Rebels Alliance by the end? Like, I don't know. I guess it's really a petty complaint, but the prequels were trying to do something original. It was stupid. It was batshit. But this is very content to tell the same story. I feel that one of the reasons I want to rewatch The Force Awakens is because I think the retellingness of The New Hope and Rey's backstory will feel better in this context because I know a little bit more about how they want to play with that same structure. But at the same time, they're still playing with the same structure. And also, I don't know how you could do a Star Wars sequel that doesn't play with the same structure a bit, because you do have to keep it safer, Oh wait, I do know how you could do that. Timothy Zahn's excellent sequel trilogy, where it dealt with the idea that there's not that many Empire left, but the Rebels haven't consolidated their forces, and you have, again, an interesting charismatic leader that makes sense why he was off to the sides in the real trilogy, because he was an alien commander in the Empire and they're racist, but he's brilliant and he's tapping into the outer fringes of the Empire as the second one. Oh, read that trilogy, it's really good. It does the same thing with this lots of structural parallels and callbacks to the original trilogy, but it's a better sequel trilogy. They should have just remade that into a movie. Cough. This is still really good. I'm not bitter. I'm bitter about Phasma. I'm not bitter about them not making that into a thing. That's fine. But like, yeah. It's weird. I'm doing the same thing. I wanted this to be more Empire structurally. And it wasn't. And I wanted it... Because it wasn't... That's the nice thing about it. It wasn't really that Empire, It was doing its own thing from Empire. God, I'm trying to remember the events of this movie, and it's just like... The entire movie is... Empire's about to kill the Rebels. The Rebels are just about to get away. For like 2 hours. And then for like a half hour, the Rebels get away, but then the Empire catches up, but then the Rebels get away. What's in the middle of that? Drama. Character drama. Bullshit with Finn and Rose on the stupid planet. And then really good stuff with Rey and Luke. Like, I was saying that in my other video I talked about, I think that's the other video, God, where it's like a 6 out of 10 pizza could be a mediocre pizza, or it could be a pizza where a couple of slices were really well cooked and had all the toppings, and then the rest of the slices were like fine, mediocre, half cooked. The Rey stuff and the Kylo stuff were like the really good slices of pizza. And then everything else was like, it's still part of the pizza. You wouldn't want them to not be there. Okay, you'd want to take out the slice that's literally just all dough that has a casino on it. Just take away that slice. Or do something with that slice. Has all the weird toppings on it, and just sprinkle the weird... Take out half the weird toppings. But like, the rest of it's fine. It's just... Yeah, like the payoff for the Finn and Rose stuff is, do they succeed in their mission or not? And it would have been satisfying if they did, or satisfying if they didn't. And the fact that they don't is interesting. That's a good tension. Whether something will work or not work. Like the bombing run in the beginning. And how it will work or not work. That's an interesting twist, an interesting tension, an interesting drama. But like, you can't have them not get a code breaker of some kind, because then the whole plot was pointless and there's no backup, right? And again, when you do plans with no backup, there's two things that can happen. The plan works in some way, the plan doesn't work, and there's a Deus Ex Machina backup. And the Deus Ex Machina backup better be real good to justify not making so much sense. Cough. Rose should not have saved Finn. That was fucking stupid. I'm glad it happened, but it was stupid. But yeah, like, not much happened in this movie if you really think about it. It was very character based, and that's good. That's great. But at the same time, the parts that weren't that character based were also not doing that much, you know? Like, for example, like the pod race. Controversial. Some people actually really like the pod race. Like, that was one of the most exciting and fun things about the prequels. Some people were like, well, it's completely pointless and stupid. And then the entire casino thing was like a pod race, but less exciting. So it's like a non-exciting pod race. It had more feels because animals, children. But at the end of the day, what was accomplished? They went to get a dude. They got a sketchy dude. Those are the endpoints. Was the middle contributing to the character's growth, to the overall other plots, or to my entertainment? Not really. It was mildly amusing at best. I'm kind of bitter about this. Anyway. I did like this movie a lot. And I want to rewatch it. And I'm kind of curious if people who know film theory and plot structure and literature and are generally smarter than me about most things, I want to hear their take on this movie structurally. But yeah, structurally I think this movie was off. There's a lot of things that could have done better. There's a couple of distinct really good moments. Laura Dern's sacrifice. A lot of the stuff on Hoth were not Hoth were actually really cool. I like the spectacle. And like the stuff with Snoke and the stuff, a lot of stuff that was generally really good. Poe's arc was really good. Kylo and Rey's arc was really good. And then there's a couple of things that were just unacceptable. Phasma, the ship thing, the Finn's lack of sacrifice, the way that Finn's lack of sacrifice occurred, were just unacceptably stupid. So that's my take. I'd love to hear other takes. I probably wouldn't see this in theaters again. I would definitely watch it again, not in theaters, but probably as part of a rewatch kind of thing. Like, I don't think I'd just watch this movie. I'd watch like Force Awakens, and then this to like compare and contrast, or like in preparation for the third one. And I guess I'm excited about the third one. I just felt so flat at the end of this movie. I don't know. But so that's my 50 cents or 500 cents depending on how you're counting. But yeah, again, I'd love to hear what other people think. If I think of other things that I missed, I'll probably tweet about them or make a separate video or something. But I think I covered a lot of the things that I was like thinking about on the ride home and stuff. And yeah, hope y'all that love this movie don't get too mad at me. At the end of the day, if you enjoyed it, that's great. And that's what matters most. I did enjoy it. But I didn't enjoy it that much. It was fine on an enjoyment level. And it was structurally, I think it had problems. So 6 out of 10 is about where it's at for me, both in terms of enjoyment and in terms of quality. Still really good. Still could have gone a lot worse. Anyway, hope you enjoyed. And until next time, double bye.